I'd like to call to order the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for Thursday, February 9th. All right, Dee,
Marlene Newman, Doug Bruce, Daniel Schlegel,
Here.
Sam DeSoller, Matthew Seddon,
here.
John Saunders,
Here.
Elizabeth Mitchell, Allison Chopra,
Here.
Bernard Cross,
Here.
All right.
Duncan Campbell, Kirsten Hawley, Ernesto Castaneda, Chris Sturbaum.
Here.
All right, great. Thank you, Dee. So I need a motion to approve the minutes from the January 26th meeting.
So moved. Second.
All right. Dee, do the roll call for the minutes.
Everybody went mute on me.
Ah,
Oh,
Abstain.
can you hear us?
I can now.
all right. We have an approval for the minutes. Daniel made the motion and Renard seconded.
Okay, thank you. Daniel Schlegel,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Allison Chopra,
Yes, absolutely.
Bernard Cross.
Yes.
Great, thank
Motion
you.
carried.
Okay, let's move on to a certificate of appropriateness, and we'll start out with COA 23-303.
So, COA 23-3 for 212 South Grand Street, located in the Restaurant Row Historic District. The petitioners are requesting to change the porch in the back of the building, redo aspects of the porch in front of the building, change the siding, and change the windows. We saw this case during our last meeting and had a conversation on the windows and on the siding. The main ask that we had for the petitioners was that they look underneath the existing the newer siding and see what the building's original siding looks like, which they did. As to the windows, window change is permissible in this historic district. So the staff does recommend approval for COA 23-03. Last time I said with consideration for individual windows to be restored, weatherized, and incorporated if possible. That being said, right now staff just recommends approval of 23-03 as it is. The petitioner provided photos of the original lap siding that measures 6 inches of exposure. And just very quickly, I'm gonna scroll down. Here are images of the lap siding underneath. So this photograph is from the first floor. So the plans are a little different. They do, so they are requesting 6-inch lap siding on the first floor, 4-inch lap siding on the second floor. Staff doesn't have opposition to this because it is in keeping with the style of building, although it does not necessarily reflect the history of this specific building. That said, staff will defer to the HPC on their final decision regarding the siding, the windows, and everything else. And with that, I leave it to you.
Okay, thank you.
And I have a point of clarification.
Yes.
Also, obviously, we haven't done full demolition on the outside of this building. If we take the siding, the vinyl siding that's there right now, we find different details, siding profiles, whatever it is, or it's a consistent siding, full height. We'll go ahead and do that. We're not opposed to doing that. I mean, this was something that we did, basically assuming that this was consistent with the character. If we were changing it, not updating it, restoring it to the character that was consistent with the original. So if we discover, once we take this off, there are different details, whether it's siding, window trim, door trims, all those things, they will be
Incorporated
duplicated as
into-
close as we can.
And you're still gonna use the vinyl siding?
We would like to use a fiber, no, we're gonna replace it with fiber cement siding. The reason we're doing that, this building is going to be fully gutted, pretty much on the inside and the outside. We would like to re-insulate it, re-sheathe it, weatherproof
Got
it,
it.
everything that needs to be done to bring it up to modern standards.
Okay.
But duplicating the character that was there
It's there
before.
before. All right, good, and it's good
That's the
information.
intent.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's do some questions. Daniel?
I looked at this the other day when Gloria sent it out. So with the different windows, is it pretty well you're gonna replace all of the windows then? There's not gonna be any saved or restored or kept on
We would
any
like to
level?
replace all the windows and basically match the sizes as closely as possible, probably within an inch of the sizes and the button patterns and everything else. So what you see right now, I know there's a question about why this was presented the way it is. 3/4 of the windows on this, with the exception if you go around to the west side in particular, there was an addition that was done probably 50 years ago where they added onto that side, they added some kitchens and bathrooms and just kind of cobbled everything up. And those openings were not really consistent with what would have been fenestration windows at that time. The majority of the windows that you see right now on the drawings we provided are windows consistent with the original windows. I mean, nothing has been changed on this building in the 100 years that it's been there, with the exception of those kind of poorly done bathroom additions and things they did on the back.
Yeah.
When it was converted to apartments, and we're changing those out and putting windows that are compatible, consistent with kind of the character of the other windows. That's our intent. But yeah, we would like to replace all the windows. None of the windows are operational now, functional. And that's pretty much a consistent, honest statement. I mean, I don't know if you haven't obviously been in the building, but
Oh, I
you can
have.
see it from the outside, and it's pretty badly deteriorated.
It is.
So to rebuild all those windows, and then, I mean, obviously it could be done, replacement with the windows, we would like to replace them with a high efficiency fiberglass window.
Yeah, I read all that. I was just curious about
Yes.
restoration work. or not,
Yes,
So.
that, we would like to replace all the windows, yes.
That's all I have to.
Thank you, Daniel. Bernard, questions?
So how is this building classified?
It is contributing.
Still no question.
Okay.
Yeah, just staff supports replacement of the windows. Isn't that right? That's the report.
So
It's a yes or no.
at this point, yes, and there is a reasoning,
Mhm.
and it's mainly this district really allows for it. Like their guidelines go out of the way to say this type of building, contributing building, windows can definitely be replaced. Like they really emphasize that. Staff prefers for windows to be, whenever possible, saved. That does require a study that has to be done and work, but if this was a different district, then staff would have recommended like go back and just put, storm windows. But because the guidelines are created by the communities, and because the character of the building will be preserved, and because this building will be given a second life in a very hostile corner. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is staff has thought about this deeply.
I understand. Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
Thank you. Anthony, questions? Allison, questions?
No, thank you.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Can I ask
Bernard?
another question? Let's just say some of the windows were restorable, repairable, and others weren't. Would it be a requirement to repair those that were and then replace those that weren't? And would that not give a kind of lopsided view to the building? I mean, having some windows that are old and repaired and then having some brand new windows? would it be a choice between either fixing them all, and those that can't be fixed, you get similar, I don't know, old windows that match in age and design, or just replace all of them? Would
There-
that be the choice? Is there a third option?
I mean, all of these are things that can become theoretical debates on what one's, theoretical framework is on how a building should look. Some buildings in the world have combinations of new windows and old windows, because some of them simply aren't repairable, but the material is considered so important, like a tree that's extinct or something like that, that you want to keep and then others just restore everything, even if it's encapsulating the whole window in epoxy or something. Like, there are so many different theories and ways to look at it, and it is really for the HPC to decide what they consider the most sensible, historically sensible. It is up to you to decide, does this make sense to us as Bloomington's HPC?
But,
Go ahead.
but we are somewhat constrained with the regulations of the particular district.
So the guidelines, and Duncan says this all the time, guidelines are to guide you, and you can weave in and out and use them as a jumping off point to say, well, in this specific case, the guidelines in this building align perfectly. In this other case, we need to be a bit more restrictive or a bit more lax. It is basically the starting point, and it does help to guide. It's not rule of law, but it is up to you to decide, like, okay, the guidelines say that they can all be changed, then we're going to go with that. Or in this specific case, we really, really don't think all of these windows should be changed. That it is a decision that the HPC can make.
Allison?
Are you finished with that
Yeah,
line?
yes, I am.
And it's
Thanks.
still the same line, but, we were talking about a poor woman with a very restrictive window guidelines or rules. This is not the case here.
So this is a very different
Very
historic
different.
district.
Yeah.
Elm
And so
Heights
that's
is
why you can feel comfortable with this
El-
and then not feel like a hypocrite to her, correct?
Elm Heights is the most restrictive historic
right.
district. If any of you ever want to purchase there, just know that it's very,
Right.
and it's still, even in Elm Heights, it's a case-by-case situation.
I just want to make sure that I'm not being a hypocrite by saying,
No.
yeah, this is good because it meets these guidelines, but I told this lady to, pound sand and spend
you're good.
$10,000, right?
You're good, because each
Great. Okay.
community creates a guidelines to their point, like how they envision their community.
Thank you for that.
Alliance
Thank you.
and Prospect Hill. There are similarly restricted ones.
Yeah, Prospect Hill. Greater Prospect Hill is very more, dare I say, relaxed, but
Yeah.
Prospect Hill core is
Very restricted.
more, yeah.
Yeah, like Elm Heights.
I'd like to move to approve.
We didn't have discussion.
You have comments?
Comments?
Yeah, we have, are we,
Yeah, we're in comments.
Okay.
Daniel?
Me again?
You're at the
I
other
need to remember to
table.
stop sitting in this seat.
Oh, we'll start over here next time.
Yeah, I think I kind of feel like how Gloria said, like the guidelines say that the windows can be replaced. Working with history, I always think of like the story of old granddad's axe, when you've replaced the handle 3 times and you've replaced the blade twice.
You still have the same axe.
Precisely, and so with this, I just think having something like the original windows or some to be like, hey, these are the original parts, it just adds to that. But I also understand with costs, with, like you said, the mismatch, the overall aesthetic, I understand that. And the fact that this district explicitly goes out of its way, as Gloria pointed out, I don't feel as bad, but I do feel, I mean, I'll grudgingly be on board, but I like when stuff like when it can be saved, when it is saved, because it just adds that much more to a historic district by keeping the historic parts.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Bernard?
This is one of the reasons I never liked how and I'm gonna say Bloomington, I don't know if this is unique to Bloomington or every historic district in the country follows the same process. But it never made sense to me on a policy level that guidelines change from district to district. And that even though the same circumstances may affect one community that affects another, you could have two different standards. And, you know, you could have the same building in another district and this wouldn't be allowed, but just because of where it is, it is. It didn't make any sense to me. It's something that I came and, you know,
I understand that.
right?
It is.
And so I like to be fair in that, you know, I could see where somebody who seeks to purchase within a particular district would first look at the guidelines and see how they may or may not be affected, and that would inform their decision. And so I'm very reluctant to go against what the guideline allows, even though it does not make sense to me at all. That being said, if the guidelines permit this to happen, I can't see how, with my overdeveloped sense of fairness, I could not vote to allow it, even though it absolutely makes no sense to me whatsoever. But that's it.
Thank you, Renard.
Do I wait till my comments to the last, or do I make my comments now?
Hey, we can go to,
Okay,
we can go to Allison.
I just wondered what the procedure is, because
We can just go around the table.
We're just
Go ahead.
going
All
to
right.
the table.
the context I can give, before I was a council member, I was a historic commission member for years. And I was here when we did the original Restaurant Row, and I fought for that. And those buildings were all weird already, but their form was important. They had a residential form, and that's what we fought for, because the land value was going to destroy them all. They'd all be torn down if we hadn't designated that years and years ago. And this extension of that district is in the same way maintaining form. And so that's the context of, and the context is also 2 5-story buildings 20 feet away from this poor little house. So if we only followed the regulations to the T, we wouldn't need a commission. But things are gray, they're not black and they're not white. And that's what our job is as a commission, is to moderate and to apply things as appropriate. So I completely agree with staff. And this is, to set this building off for another 100 years, this is the way to do it. And it's gonna be not with a window that's gonna fall apart in 5 more years, or, you know, it's gonna be ready to go, but the form's gonna be there. Amazingly, it's that frontier edge of that form district. And you step 20 feet away and it's, whoa, everything's different. And that's dramatic, what our districts do. And that's why someone's gonna walk that district in 50 years and just have that relationship to the buildings that people had 100 years ago. So that's the context for why I support what we're doing on this building.
Thank you, Chris. Matthew?
I just want to thank you guys for getting us the extra information and being patient about it. And I was swayed by your argument last week, and that you summarized nicely here. And yeah, I think approving this, we get out of it a building that stays true to the sense of that district. So very much appreciate that, and thanks for your patience, and I'm happy to support this.
No comment.
No comments. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming back and doing the things to show us what the condition is so we can move forward. And,
John,
yeah.
one more thing, if that's okay. I have one more thing, if that's
Oh,
okay. real
yeah,
quick. And I
go
did
ahead.
want to say, I was encouraged that when you said that if you see any detail work or things around that you're willing to follow that and you want to incorporate, I do think that's a great sign, and it is, I think, a great touch to be able to do. So I did want to voice that as well, that I think that's excellent. You're going to look for, keep an eye out for those things. So I did want to mention that.
So we'll all be driving by.
Can I make my motion now? Okay, I'd like
Yes,
to move to
please.
approve.
Second.
All right, D,
She's like, yeah.
Daniel Schlegel,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
yes.
Allison Chopra,
Yes.
Bernard Cross.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Before we continue, Allison has to leave very soon. We have basically barely 10 minutes, technically 6 minutes, but if she's generous, 5 more minutes to
I am generous.
see the last 2 cases. So we're gonna move
It's a
ahead.
peek out, so.
Hopefully, like, I am sorry to ask everybody to keep your comments and questions succinct, but hopefully we've seen this case before. So do you wanna
Yes.
announce it? Should I keep
Yeah,
going?
let's move on to COA 23-6. Mark, where'd you go?
He's here,
Is he there?
I think.
Well, I saw him, but now I don't see him.
Oh,
That's-
yeah,
yeah.
Matt.
Matt's there. All right, great. Okay,
Okay, so with this case, we had seen this case last week. We had actually seen it last year. It's for a new house or duplex in the Matlock Heights Historic District. Staff recommends approval of COA 23-06. The building's proportions, height, outline, and massing are evocative of the neighborhood historic district requirements. The building has a smaller setback than its neighbors, but that's just how the site is located. We can do nothing about the entrances. They have to face forward to comply with planning. And the materials, questions about the materials have been addressed. Here are some additional drawings. So they originally had brick, and now they're going to have a stone veneer, which is more in keeping. And with the extra details, we got a clearer sense of how the proposal is going to look. So, yeah, staff supports this.
very good. Matt, do you have any additional information for us?
Yeah, hi, this is Matt Ellenwood. Mark couldn't make it this evening. He's actually on a flight, so I'll be doing my best to represent. Not a ton to add, although there were questions last time about the street development, and I did reach out to Karina with city planning, and she gave a response. I believe Gloria had received that. The gist of it was the city didn't really see a reason to extend the street, because that would just mean further distance for services to have to basically back up along the street. Karina did recommend that I reach out to Adam Wason, which I did, but I have not heard back from him regarding the street development.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. All right, questions? Allison,
None.
Matthew,
None.
Chris, Renard, Daniel?
Oh, no.
No questions. Very good. So let's move on to comments. Daniel?
I was just really glad to see the reworked site there where it went from the brick to the stone to look more like the neighbors. I just thought that's a nice touch, and I just think it looks a lot better for that neighborhood.
Renard?
No comments.
I agree, small change, big deal.
Okay. Daniel? Matthew?
I agree as well. The door facing, it doesn't jump out at you. It's a little bit bigger than typical for these lots, but I don't think it's gonna jump out and destroy the neighborhood's overall feel, so I'm comfortable with it.
I am gonna actually make a comment quickly. This is exactly what we did. We bought a house in Park Ridge East and it had brick on the front. And I was like, nope, I'm taking that off first thing and putting limestone. And I did exactly what they did from Indiana cut limestone, this, what's it called?
Split face?
The split face, and it looks, paint it olive green and it'll look a lot like my house, so I can't not like this.
Thank you, Allison. So we need a motion?
So moved.
All right.
Move to approve 2306.
So moved.
Thank you.
He's moving.
Did you get that, Dee?
Yes,
All
okay.
right, perfect.
Daniel Schlegel,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Allison Chopra,
Yes.
Bernard Cross.
Yeah, why not?
So enthusiastic.
I like this building, but.
All right. Thanks, Matt. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Wonderful work you've done. Appreciate that. All right, let's move on to COA 23-09.
So 1319 East First Street is located in the Elm Heights Historic District. Angie and Darren Ricketts, sorry, are requesting to change the current asphalt shingles for, it says brown Old World, but it's actually going to be more black Old World slate roof, which is a fake slate, but it looks like slate. And here is a photograph of what it would look like and of the house. So it's a composite material, and in terms of the sizing would much more closely match what they believe is the historical slate. So you can barely see it in this photo, but there is a bit of a patterning in the corners of what this roof could have looked like. They also provided some additional information. I did reach out to the neighborhood subcommittee. Angie is part of that subcommittee, but the other members have not responded. So that's where we're at. And yeah, staff supports this approval for COA 23-09.
All right, thank you. Angie, you got any additional information for us or comments?
You're muted. You're still muted.
There we go.
Am I, no, I think am I unmuted now?
You are.
Okay. First of all, I don't like the word fake, just kind of kidding, but it's a composite and it's very eco-friendly. We did a lot of research. It's really, until Darren and I actually picked up one of the tiles, we both actually thought it was black slate. It weighs a lot less, and one of the problems that we faced in our house is the weight. We finished the attic and we've had, basically putting an actual slate roof on top of the house would have probably crushed it. Or, it wouldn't have crushed it, but it would have caused a lot of problems. So this was a great alternative to real slate. It's, the company is called Brava Tile, and they have, they're just, it's amazing. We have a neighbor on 2nd Street who used a very similar tile. And as you guys know, I know that we're almost out of time, but I'd like to say, living in a house like this, we are the stewards of it, and we adore it, and we will go out of this house feet first. I've said that many times. We're going to live here until the day we die. We have spent almost as much money restoring this home as we did purchasing it. So, having said that, everything costs 3 times as much and takes 3 times as long, and you guys all know that as well as anybody does. And we did not know that, but it's taking us longer to get to, what we are, the final product of our home. But when you live in a place like this, it's there's a lot of it's almost like a CIS, investigation. As every spring and summer, when I'm digging in the garden, I'll find something. And I'm like, what is this? Is this a piece of roof? Is this a piece of tile? And I've done a lot of research, and I've reached out to or been in contact with with all but one owner of our house since 1928. And they've all been able to provide me pictures and information and things that, you know, we just would have never known had we not tracked them down. Is Duncan in here? I heard his name. I mean, I recognize Chris's voice. for
Excuse
sure.
me, Angie, we have 2 minutes to either approve or delay your project till 2 weeks.
Okay, well, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I need to get, is Duncan in here?
He's not.
He's not with us tonight.
Okay, I'll email him separately. He knows a lot about this. Okay, so go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. All right, let's do questions really quick. We'll start with Allison, Matthew, Chris.
Unfortunately, I have questions.
All right,
Firstly, it seems to indicate here that there was slate on the
Yes.
roof originally, but now you're saying that slate would be too heavy for the roof? I don't understand. Is there an engineer's report that would indicate that the
Yes.
roof?
Yes.
Is it here?
We finished the attic, which had been previously unfinished, which added a lot of weight to the house.
the drywall.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's just,
No, I was just
Yeah.
checking if there was any kind of engineer report that supported.
Yes, yeah, Kevin, we have Kevin Potter's report.
Right, but I don't have it here.
I didn't know we needed it. I mean, if we couldn't afford it
I mean, they're not.
anyway. If we were to replace the roof with this Brava tile costs 3 times more than asphalt. And actual tile slate, first of all, the house couldn't, couldn't support it. And secondly, if we can't use this something lighter weight, then we would replace it with what's existing, which is asphalt. And I don't think anybody wants that because it's not very pretty.
I'm just looking at the guidelines here, and I'm
No, it's fine.
I'm just not convinced as yet. I could be convinced that this material complies with the compatible in scale, size, material, and color with the historic building and district, but I'm not yet convinced by what I see here. So,
Okay.
Those are my questions. Sorry.
Let's see. The other neighborhood committee members did reply. Maybe Gloria wasn't part of that. You know, we had a little bit of a email conversation yesterday. I don't quite, know. So would you like us to have Kevin Potter come back and say, no, this house can't handle a black slate roof that we couldn't afford anyway?
No,
And
I thought you said you had a report from Kevin Potter. I was assuming that report
We
was
do,
in
we do.
writing.
It's from when we very first bought the house. And we got the report from him because we finished the attic. The attic had been previously unfinished. And we also had a lot of problems. We had ceilings on both sides of the house cave in. The house was very neglected. No one had lived here for 15 years, and it had a lot of, we had ceiling joists that were cut. It's really been quite a nightmare. And we're finally at a place where the house feels happy. And I think that happiness would only be made greater with a lighter roof. So that's kind of my point, is that the original roof we found in the basement, it was asbestos. They hadn't gotten rid of it, but they shoved it into a deep dark corner in the floor of, or in the corner of the garage.
so.
But, and that is, I mean, from all we know, that's was the original roof, or at least part of it. So, yeah, I guess I could get Kevin Potter's original report about, the way we had to add extra supports and all of those things in order to finish our attic
All right.
and create a third floor.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you.
Okay.
We've actually lost our quorum, so we're not gonna be able to vote on this tonight anyway. So Bernard, if you had the Kevin Potter report, would that make you feel better?
That would make me feel
Okay.
better.
So Angie, if you would get that report to Gloria,
Okay.
and we will get it to Bernard. Daniel, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay,
I'll put you first in line for
for the next meeting.
the next meeting and see if we can get the comments from the rest of the committee.
Sure, that'd be great. I'm actually gonna be out of the country and so's my husband, so, we'll, do our best.
If you have someone else who can attend in your behalf,
Sure.
That'd be
Maybe.
perfect.
I'll try.
All right, we'll
I'll try.
we'll get you worked out on that,
yeah,
Angie.
we'll talk.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Gloria, we'll get you worked
So-
out.
Yep,
We're gonna have to hold
Okay.
off for 2 weeks to our next meeting, which is a week, well, 2 weeks from today.
okay.
It'd be February
Third.
23rd.
So our report from Kevin Potter is dated 2017.
That's
Let's be
okay.
clear. Okay,
It's okay.
okay.
Send the letter into us.
Alrighty,
All right?
okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Chris. I appreciate that.
Could they bring a sample?
Yes,
I'd love to see a
Angie.
Yes.
Angie, do you have a sample of the new roof?
Yes.
Would you send that in?
We did. The roofing company, actually, they're free from Brava. They send you as many samples as you want free.
Okay.
And the roofing company, when they came to, help us make the final selection based on the tiles that we found in the
Right.
basement, they took them with them,
Okay.
even though they belong to us. But there's a house on Second Street, and it's listed in my petition, and they have the exact same Brava slate that we have ordered. We've
Okay.
just ordered darker color that
Okay.
matches what was there originally.
Okay,
And that photo of that house is attached to my petition.
All right.
So it's right there from the street.
okay,
yeah.
great.
Ask if the company will send that back.
Yeah, your roofing company, would they just send that back, the sample?
Well, it's kind of a bummer because, when I was writing this up, I was like, shit, I really could have used that, but sorry,
Well-
for this. But, okay, so the question is the weight and why we
No,
need to.
we're just asking you to give
Okay.
us a sample of the material that's gonna be used.
Okay,
The
okay,
Brava, and a sample of the Brava roofing material. That's what we're asking
Okay.
for. And
Okay.
just the Kevin Potter report describing the condition of the roofing structure for us. That'll probably be in
Okay.
2017. And then
okay,
we'll put you at the first of our list, our next meeting, which is on the 23rd.
right.
And if you can't make
Okay.
it, then if you find somebody who would represent you, that would be ideal. Or maybe wherever you are, you'd be able to zoom in. Because
Okay.
Zoom works
Okay.
around the world. I used it when I was in the Philippines here recently.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you got it, you know where
Yeah.
the meeting is and you can
Okay.
zoom in with us,
Sure.
okay?
Sure.
All right, thank you very
Okay,
much.
so, yeah. Okay, thank you,
Alright.
Chris. It's always good to hear your voice. You're a wealth of knowledge, and so is Jenny.
Thank you.
And of course, Duncan.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'll get those things, and I guess we'll, go over this again.
All right, thank you
I
so
was
much,
slammed up.
Angie.
Sorry about
Okay,
the quorum.
all right.
Yeah,
And also, when we talk again, everyone in our neighborhood's very curious about what's happening with the Kinsey House. We know Consuela and Enrique sold it to the IU Foundation, but
ooh,
is that a can of worms? If it is, I'd like to discuss it at the next meeting. Oh my gosh, I mean to hold this
okay,
close to my face and about my nostrils.
all right,
He lived in that
Yeah.
area.
all right, thank you.
Alfred Kinsey.
Okay, all
All right,
right.
thank you. You have a good evening.
You too.
All right,
It's news to me. It's,
yeah,
I hadn't heard that.
I hadn't either. So Chris, you want to explain the kind of roofing that they're gonna be using?
Well, what I know of it, like, I researched some roofing for the Paris Dunning house. And we were talking about, should they use the modern artificial shingle, wood shingle, or should they use a wood shingle that could fail? You know, the modern wood shingle isn't as good as that. It was pretty impressive, but I don't have the slate. So, you know, that's why I'd like us to put our hands on the slate. And
Right.
having a slate, an artificial material representing slate, I think should be pretty simple. And what's changed over time are the replicas that really represent historic materials. Those weren't here when the original Secretary of Standards were written, you know, so.
And right now, they just have a regular asphalt roof.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-tab.
And this house, it's all about the roof. You really see the roof on this
Yeah.
house. So it matters a lot, but and that's what their instincts are those silly shingles, just asphalts look terrible on there.
Right.
And
Right.
we're not seeing it from the side where you see them go up
Yeah.
the big triangle.
And I can see where slate could be cost prohibitive.
And I don't think it
Three-bed
had
slate
slate
roof.
originally, so it looks like it had asphalt, some kind of asphalt.
I
But
think
it says
she
here in the
said-
packet that they found evidence that it was originally slate.
Or she
Did it say that?
mentioned asbestos.
She mentioned
Yeah.
A lot of
asbestos.
those in that era were,
Unless I'm not
they
reading
looked
this
like slate, but
properly,
they were
it said-
asbestos.
Yeah.
So
It
I don't know
said-
which it is.
The petitioner provided a historical photograph that tends to indicate potential slate use originally. It's the last line on page 99.
Potential.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The photograph that's in here, I can't tell if it's slate.
Yeah, it could be there.
This picture is pretty impressive. I'll have to drive by and see that
Yes.
place.
Yeah. But,
Because
okay,
that's the same material, basically. Yeah, I think if we all have time, let's drive by that house and look at it and see what they're trying to do, because all she's saying is darker color.
Yeah, I just ordered one of each, a slate, shake, and a barrel tile sample for the
Alright.
city, and who
Wow.
knows when they'll arrive, but
Very good.
we'll have them as a resource in the office.
Very good. And what did you say how much that roof was gonna cost?
35.
30K.
Did she say that?
It's in there. I
It's
know.
in there.
35 grand.
She basically
Her
said about.
insurance is gonna cover about 20 grand with
Yeah.
Wow, that's lucky.
it.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
I'm not very sure.
Okay, guys, we're done.
All right. Thank you, Jordan.
We have nothing else on our
Efficient.
agenda.
So,